Let's get into the Madster, the electric truck, and get ready to hit the road.
This is the control panel for the whole vehicle. In this case, it's the pneumatic system, and here it's separate for each wheel.
So accordingly, we can adjust the pressure from the display and fine-tune it for the required conditions.
This is your own development, right?
Yes, that's right. Leonid is the one who made this for us. This is just the stereo system.
Here, it's actually installed for the surround view cameras.
They'll be added a bit later as well.
And this is the main display, which is currently just showing us some data. But it will also be updated later.
3 displays in total, just like a proper Chinese car.
I don't even know if that's good or bad.
Well, let's just call it modern.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I completely agree with what you just said, and I think your point makes a lot of sense. It's definitely true.
Whoa. All right, let's see what the electric can do. So I can already see that the road seems scarier than how it's driving. It feels like you're about to start bouncing and flying off here. But the suspension really does smooth it all out. Right now, it's actually the advanced air suspension system that's absorbing all of the bumps in the road, right? Yeah, because the wheels are pretty standard. I doubt they're making much of a difference. They're not pumped up. And
This is just a regular 5. Dacia is nice.
what's the tire pressure right now?
The wheels are air suspension. The wheels are like 2 there. And
The wheels can't be adjusted in terms of...
no, not from the cabin, no.
So we adjust the air suspension, the one that's on each wheel, the airbag for each wheel. What's the ground clearance?
It's adjustable accordingly.
So what's the approximate range?
Probably at maximum it goes up to 300. So it's not really very high on these wheels actually.
Listen, well, the suspension is actually very decent. I can tell you this. I'm comparing it to a UAZ. I was in Crimea, drove a UAZ for 3 days. I think in a UAZ I could do this here. We probably would have already bounced out of the cabin somewhere. Of course, you can't really see it on video, but the potholes here are pretty bouncy, and the suspension smooths it all out very comfortably. I'm holding on with one hand without any effort. Well, as for acceleration, here it's very... probably like the acceleration of a passenger car.
Well, actually
Well, I get it. It's like that at low revs.
no, it goes in peak modes. 0 to 100 in 4 seconds. Right now it's dialed back, well, around 5 at the moment. Well, it probably rivals the Tesla Model 3.
Wait, so 0 to 100 in 4 seconds?
Yes,
And what's the top speed?
I've gotten it up to 150. Theoretically, it could go higher.
All right, then go ahead and tell us.
Whoa, we're really taking off here. Whoa. Oh man, that was scary.
Scarier than in the Yedet? Yeah.
When you're not used to it. Well, I mean, I trust you, but I wouldn't drive it myself. Man, it's just totally... Stop. I just forgot the question I wanted to ask. Listen, what kind of engine is it? I'm just curious. What are the specs?
So there are 3 motors from a Mitsubishi Outlander F, specifically the rear motor.
Originally it's 70 kilowatts, but here we push them probably up to 150 at peak. So this car actually consumes about half a megawatt of electrical power during its peak acceleration phase. Even
500 kilowatts?
exactly 450. That is like 600 horsepower there somewhere.
This is a very long sentence indeed.
It's like you're lying on a beautiful Thai beach getting a relaxing massage. No, well, I didn't sign up for this. The kind of consumption you just showed me, I don't know. I think that's just for show. Well, very much so.
It's unusual.
Unusual, yeah. I just remembered, Edward, how motorsport took me for a riding the buggy, and I experienced exactly the same sensations. Afterwards, I really had to recover mentally.
Now it broke. To be honest, I just couldn't really bring myself to do it, you know?
It's clear that it's all a matter of habit. But since I'm not used to it, I took it as something, although I'm actually very used to electric traction. That's what I really honestly love about it, I have to say, As for its 2-track capability, no questions there. Listen, I realized that on a quad, I don't even know if I could keep up in terms of the terrain. Probably couldn't keep up. Yeah, I get that feeling too.
Well, even the Maverick doesn't really keep up with it, at least not in a straight line.
Listen, say that again, but louder.
Well, the Maverick, the RS Maverick, it falls behind the truck in a straight line.
Right, in a straight line. And what about in terms of terrain?
In terms of terrain, of course, 60 centimeters of suspension travel on the Maverick really makes a difference. But our suspension is from the Niva, it's the front Niva suspension. All 3 axles use the front Niva suspension.
So in the future, we might have a fully steerable chassis here, and most likely we will.
But for now, it's just the front. And why was this done? So that the person who buys the car can buy Zhiguli parts at any store. And service the suspension. And it's simpler that way.
Versatility, definitely.
Yes, so at this stage, there was no point in making our own suspension. We needed basically to understand the concept of the car. And here's another advantage of electric cars. Right now we're in the forest, we just drove through pretty quickly and all that, and now we can just roll along, listen to the birds, Nothing is stopping us from having a conversation.
Look, it's like a cargo golf cart that can go through any forest road, and it's really capable. I mean, it's just... I can say this with confidence. Those ditches we went through, visually it seemed like it would be impossible for this thing, but I realized it was just an optical illusion. It drives through without any problems at all. Yeah, this is awesome. The trail is springy, the speed is good, and it's really smooth. That's the most important thing. You're driving and you really feel like a human being. Driving on a road like this in a UAZ at more than 20 kilometers per hour is just uncomfortable. You either have to tune it up or everything has to be really well
packed in there. We managed to do that a long time ago. We were just driving by, and some people happened to come to film as well. And there was this kind of road across a field. We caught up with 2 cyclists. They were moving slowly, looking around at the scenery.
We drove up to them literally less than 10 meters away.
We were driving behind them, and they didn't even hear us, even though it was quiet, no wind, and they still didn't hear anything. So, as I see it, another big advantage of electric vehicles is that while we're enjoying ourselves, we're not ruining other people's experience.
I absolutely agree with that 100%.
Create any kind of acoustic discomfort. And we also had another project, an intermediate experimental smart, and therefore we actually built it at some point. In the winter, there was a little lot and we just drifted on it until the motor overheated. And around us, well, everything was quiet at night. We didn't bother anyone. We just got our adrenaline rush. Especially considering how much of this kind of equipment there is now. In this area, when everyone is revving and spinning around. Listen, you guys are praising it. And in general, the equipment is unusual, understandable, and cool. Just now we spun the wheels on the grass. It's fun. And tell me, please, is this meant for sale? Or is it just a custom order right now?
Well, right now I want to sell the vehicles properly with PSM so that people can fully use them. That's why at this stage I need to gather some pool of pre-orders so I can start the registration process.
So, at the moment I understand, yes, there are still some shortcomings, but they're not there.
There's no point in fixing them on this particular vehicle anymore.
Someone who just gets in it won't understand anything at all. That's most likely the case.
And what path do you see? Right now you understand what the finished product looks like, but probably those people who are considering a pre-order still can't visualize the final lineup, right?
Or other pictures. No, for visualization we'll have the exterior assembled soon. We've already got the design ready.
Then could you please tell us more about the stages? Specifically, tell us what exactly will happen in a month, in 6 months, and in a year, in your opinion, according to your plan?
In about a month, we should be able to have the exterior assembled. That is, the car will be fully assembled with doors, with glass, everything as it should be.
So, the body will be sealed, right?
Yes, it will be fully comfortable for you. This isn't just talk. So it can be re-equipped or modified upon request. But initially, in the base version, this car will be completely enclosed, so it can be used even in winter.
So is it assumed that the windows will open?
Yes. Yes, the windows are sliding. Since we have a tailgate doors, it's low, but it doesn't matter. You can open them.
There will be a heat pump here.
Installed, and accordingly, air conditioning and heating.
And for the winter season, we plan to make further improvements to the electronics to tidy up the whole control system.
And accordingly, by spring, I hope to roll out the final version that can definitely and confidently be shown as a fully completed and finished product.
Slow down just a little bit now, so the noise.
By spring, I plan to show a finished version so that a person doesn't have to imagine anything, but can fully sit down and understand what the car is like as a whole, how it's calculated.
Those are the prospects for now. As of right now. Since this car also allows us to test out and demonstrate some of our innovative technologies, we are already converting production cars to fully electric vehicles. You can check it out for yourself later, and at this point it's already available for order through our official channels. If anyone is interested, I especially recommend this solution for classic old cars, for which there are very few spare parts left on the market and they're extremely hard to find. And the main advantage, especially for old cars, in people's minds, they're kind of cool, stylish, and perfect, but in reality, they're just old buckets. And when you actually get in, it doesn't feel as nice or comfortable as a modern car.
So, just to confirm, you're saying that the car key is actually ready for the supply plan, right?
It's probably better for us to do it for now, as you know, because after all, it's high voltage, and for safety reasons, you need certain expertise to work with.
We're not ready to make such a bolt-on kit yet, of course, but we can retrofit a car by special order.
We'll be at the design bureau. I can show you our current products. They're quite interesting.
Hey, the sound is really pleasant. That little whoosh from the footer, I'd keep it. That's the recuperation.
Did you feel it? That's the brake pad recuperation.
Yeah, it's a bit stiff though. I thought you actually hit the brakes. I don't really know for sure. Maybe we should try to tone it down a little bit just to see if that helps. No, it's still not working as well as it should be yet. There's no need to put all the responsibility on us at this point. Yeah, that's how I feel. Right now, at this very moment, there's currently a disc right here. Is that messed up too? Well, you see, because of the long wheelbase, it kind of... Yeah, it's working carefully, and even though it's swaying, well, I didn't install a stabilizer. For better suspension adjustment, it does sway here, but the extended wheelbase holds itself for a long time before tipping over. I specifically tried to flip it, you know, like in that video where I shook it and tipped it onto its side. Well, the center of mass is also low here. Yeah, the battery is mounted low, basically. It's just us sitting high up.
Of course, with a load, you have to keep in mind that the vehicle's center of mass rises, but that's... In any vehicle, the main safety element is the driver. At least that's what I believe.
By the way, the most interesting thing,
We immediately asked the question, but there's no answer.
Pre-orders. What are the price ranges for this particular vehicle? At the moment, the current plan is that the base version is a two-seater cab, which features a low bed in the back for increased practicality and convenience. In this configuration, it's a 48 kilowatt-hour battery and 3 current motors.
About 5.2 million rubles. That's for the fully finished version.
Enclosed cab, sound system, all the features.
There's another interesting feature about this vehicle. It's specifically designed to be modular in its design. That is, the cab at the front always remains from the base, and then you can assemble any configuration you want using bolt-on connections.
In this case, we have 4 seats and a low bed.
I want to build this particular vehicle as an expedition model, so it will have a habitable compartment and 4 seats for passengers. First of all, it can be equipped in different ways according to the specific needs of the client. Secondly, there is a system in place for quickly reconfiguring the vehicle in a garage setting. That is, we have specially designed outriggers, and around each element of the superstructure, there is a dedicated mounting hole.
So you just pump the air suspension to the maximum, attach the outriggers, unscrew the necessary component, lower it, and drive out of the house.
Tell me, please, Sherbs, Han, and others like them. There are a lot of these all-terrain vehicles with big wheels coming out now.
In your opinion, what is the difference between them in terms of their niche? So what is the key difference and the outlook specifically for this model? Well, as far as I know, those projects are all already specifically geared, quite often, towards some kind of professional use or application. Of course, yes, that's true. They serve as toys, but also for professional needs, for biologists, reindeer herders, and so on. Perhaps this particular vehicle simply isn't entirely suitable for northern conditions, harsh climates, and the like. I would describe it like this: to what extent? Initially, I was building a small utility truck, but then the first motors weren't powerful enough for me. In certain modes, they just didn't have quite enough power.
So we equipped it with more powerful motors.
And here, as a sort of side effect, speed was added. Plus, the vehicle turned out to be comfortable. And accordingly, after driving it for a while, I came to the conclusion that this vehicle is more for entertainment and tourism. At the same time, it can... All week long, it can haul bricks for you at a construction site, for example, and handle purely utilitarian tasks. And on weekends, you can turn it into an expedition vehicle by yourself in a couple of hours and go camping with your family, somewhere for a getaway. Listen, I already know exactly how I'd use it right now. I've already got it all figured out in my head. The picture has come together for me.
So, we're going on an electric tour.
That's it. And with us, there's this kind of support vehicle that keeps up with us. But if the quad bike happens to break down, you can simply load it up right away without any delay. And for those who do not like riding quads at all, passengers can immediately take a seat and just watch as the electric remote control vehicle passes by, observing everything with their own eyes. Now we are turning, as I understand it, somewhere down. Listen, despite being a 3-axle vehicle, the turning angle is quite decent. There is one plus. Can pump into the middle, release into the back, then accordingly it is more nimble. Now it's going to drink up the whole river, just as we expected, and as a result, our ford level will drop. It's possible already. He looks kind of tired. Maybe he got lost. Yeah, he seems kind of sad.
In terms of engineering school, what competencies have you developed during your time working at such a high level in the market?
We've been working on the project for 3 years, starting from the quad bike.
Over these 3 years, in your opinion, what are the most interesting competencies you've gained? I mean, maybe you do something yourselves in electronics, or perhaps some different combinations?
Well, we did bring people in, yes. People who actually understand electronics, and together we figured out the mechanics and the process of building the machine itself. The technical frame and everything else, but probably the most important point here is that the final product turned out to be, well, kind of unusual. I can't say it was invented by accident, it just happened that way.
After all, Tesla didn't really invent anything either, just the right way. The arrangement of the necessary...
From the point of view of an ordinary person, a buyer comes to the market, he chooses something, and if the thing is well thought out, logical, and gives him what he wants, then accordingly he pays for it with his money. So here it's more about the overall picture.
But still, like off camera, you were saying? BMS. So what exactly is unique about the BMS that you are refining?
Actually, it's not so much about the uniqueness of the BMS.
there are BMSs on the market, but first of all, their prices are higher. Secondly, right now, good BMS units are not made in China, but there are some in China, and they do sell them accordingly for B2C. They're all B2B there, where their business is and everything's fine for them. They're all good. Other BMS units we could get are European or American. They're not completely unavailable, just too expensive.
Which pushes us to do it ourselves.
Of course. And again, how can you plan anything if you don't know the delivery times or anything else? Of course, the question here is about having our own components. Naturally, there are things that aren't that important, for example, like a tape recorder, for instance. If we don't have one, we can just put in another. That's not a problem. But with the BMS, that's a key factor, as well as the controller. And for everything else, it's preferable to have our own expertise. Because first of all, it allows us to flexibly configure the car and understand what exactly we can get out of it. Basically, if we buy a ready-made solution, there are some options out there. But it's just some controller that arrives, it outputs certain values, and you can't really change anything else. For us, that's not ideal, because again, we need to understand if we're overloading these motors. For example, 70 kilowatts, double the thermal load. They handle it quite well, but naturally the gearboxes can't keep up. The drives and some other parts also aren't up to par, but we'll just find some optimal mode, since, for example, off-road equipment, to be honest, doesn't get used as much as regular vehicles. It's not designed for 500,000 kilometers like an original car. Here, basically, you can sacrifice a little cutback, but in return get more output. Because, well, how much does it really get used? Usually, it's about 20,000 kilometers total over its lifetime. By the way, there's another advantage, maybe not so obvious for electric vehicles, since we live in a village. For example, to refuel a quad bike, you have to go buy gasoline, bring it back and fill it up. But with electricity, it's simpler in this regard. It's available here right now, it's just more convenient. You ride around during the day, plug it in overnight, and that's it.
Yeah, I always use the mountains as an example. There are outlets in every settlement. Take Dagestan, for example. There are outlets in every settlement, but there are no gas stations. You have to travel far to get to a gas station. It's the same up north. Electrification happened, but they never built a gas station.
That's the argument. But what if I buy an electric vehicle and go 500 kilometers into the taiga? There are no gas stations there. Well, there are no outlets either, but there are no gas stations either. There's nothing at all. You have to understand that any technology gives you certain possibilities, and then you operate within those possibilities.
Absolutely right. I completely agree. Since we travel by electric car, we went to the tundra, we just planned ahead and used hybrid solutions. So what? But we were driving electric. And it was quiet, and we were in the kind of vehicle we love.
Yeah, just the other day, Pasha and I were riding through a clearing. We had one electric ATV and one gas-powered one. The gas one just kind of, to be honest, spoiled the whole vibe of the place a bit.
People who support electric vehicles are those who've tried both gas and electric. And those who support gas-powered ATVs are usually the ones who haven't tried electric yet. Or if they have tried it, then roughly speaking, they just haven't saved up for one yet. So for now, they're still riding the gas-powered one. So basically, it's just a matter of time. I always use the analogy of the gearbox as an example. About 20 years ago, and I was already an adult back then, manual transmissions were gradually losing out to automatics. But while it was still losing out, those who drove manual stubbornly insisted that nothing was better than a manual. That it's no trouble at all to shift gears, but you really feel the car, and in tough conditions it won't let you down, plus you always know how it's going to behave.
But time has passed, 20 years have gone by, and now if we see someone with a manual transmission, well, we don't even argue anymore, we just feel sorry for that person. We understand that it's just temporary, and soon they'll switch to an automatic and finally relax.
Yes, of course, you have to understand if you compare, say, electric cars, for example, 20 years ago, that was a completely different story. Everything is evolving and it will only get better. I'm sure it's a good trend overall that this field is developing, meaning that cars are catching up as well. And this kind of off-road technology definitely has its place and everyone just needs to give it a try. I think most people will like it in any case. I've seen a lot of people switch from gas to electric, but very few go back from electric to gas. I
Just can't do it. I sold my gas-powered quad, my liter BRP, because I would come into the garage, see it sitting there, and realize I just had no desire to get on it. And the last few times I did ride it, I would press the gas and think, oh, it's not pulling, what's wrong? And then it broke down on me. I tried to compare it with my friends, with their quads. No, everything's fine. Theirs don't pull either, so it's all normal. I realized the problem wasn't that it broke down, it just doesn't pull, it just makes noise. I pressed the gas pedal. I think, God, I just hope I can hold on. There's more roar than power. And here I make a sound. I croak from the effort, from the strain of desperately trying to hold on.
I once gave a guy a ride who hadn't really ridden in electric cars before, and he said the scariest thing is I'm sitting there and I don't know when it's going to take off. He said with a regular car, it usually roars first and then it goes. But here, there's nothing. I just sit and don't know when to be scared.
And then it suddenly leaps forward, so it's actually a really strong and impressive initial burst. So one time I went racing, just for fun, to take a ride in something really sporty and fast, to experience what that kind of power feels like firsthand. I didn't even remember the car, that's how little it impressed me, a race car. So I got behind the wheel, there was an instruction, and I thought, damn, now I'm really going to feel it with all that roaring, and then I realized it was nothing special at all. After 2 or 3 laps, when I had completely lost interest in the dynamics, the instructor who was with me said, you have to understand a sports car isn't just about acceleration, it's also about the brakes and weight distribution. And at that point I might have agreed with him. Well, of course. As for acceleration, I just realized that the acceleration dynamics
aren't really there. With electric cars, the only real issue right now is the battery, which is still quite heavy, and in terms of capacity, loses out to fuel. And there are situations like that, for example in sports and so on, where it's just the battery. Well, it's still too heavy for now, so it will just lose out.
Water transport itself.
Even snowmobiles. Sports vehicles also have very little weight, so obviously you can't put a battery in there. I also think batteries are improving. They've already made huge progress even in just the last 3 years. In the same format, the capacity has practically doubled, so...
Let's cross the ford back. Let's go. No, I'm already used to it. I don't look at bumps so nervously anymore. Alcohol tourism. You've specifically and immediately targeted a pretty significant audience. In fact, you went straight for an incredibly large niche market. It's actually a good point here that only the driver doesn't drink. Everyone else is relaxing. Forest, nature, silence. You can relax on the way to alcohol tourism. Well, just don't give it to the drivers. And on the way back too. Well, of course, the driver, obviously. Well,
the driver won't be happy with that.
Behavior. No, it's his job, being a sober driver. And it's fine, and then...
Alright, off we go. Let us begin our journey and see what awaits us.
Did you let a little air out? Or is it just now on? No.
I just messed up there. There was a mesh window there right in the middle.
But you put the pressure back to how it was, right? Yes. Is it at maximum now? A little.
Less. By 1.
Atmosphere. And what range do you estimate here, roughly speaking? Honestly, it's quite hard to say for now, to be honest. Actually,
as is the case with all electric trains, typically, this is what you would expect.
By modes here, we specifically mean those sharp sudden accelerations, which are mostly happening right around the 100 kilometer mark. Probably in a much smoother, just cruising mode. It could even go up to 200 kilometers, just stretching it out normally and steadily. Yes, for off-road vehicles, but actually, right now, mine is currently set to 48 kilometers per hour. There's also space here to double the battery, and well, the biggest option is the hybrid version. As for the fuel, how much does one have there?
Hey, how do you charge it?
For now, I have slow charging. Well, right now, it's just 3 kilowatts. Hold on a sec. Let's drive through. Yeah. How do you charge it?
Right now it's a slow 3 kilowatt charger. And over there, once we finish working on the battery to make sure it's in good condition, we'll install 2 bintishkas. Basically, you can actually charge as much as 40 kilowatts.
Hey, don't you maybe want to take it on our Dagestan tour with us?
I do, but honestly, I realize there's still work to be done, but for next season, I hope already, to be honest, no. You know, it's a bit quirky, kind of acts up. Actually, it's only 5 meters long and 1 meter 70 centimeters wide. Just looking at the proportions, it seems like a little truck, but in reality, it's just a regular passenger car as usual. And that's another big plus. When you're driving in the forest, take for example the ELIQ, it's 2 meters wide. It's much harder for it to maneuver between trees than this one. And also, well, I did this on purpose. I have an external frame and it marks the outermost points. I don't even want to put mirrors here because when you're driving between trees, you inevitably lean against them. Why add extra protruding elements that will just fall off? There's also dust at the back, which actually looks nice. You could put a camera there. You know, we used to joke around just for fun about maybe making something like a hot dog stand and then driving it out onto some off-road trail where ATV riders usually go. Just park it right in the middle of the forest, somewhere they definitely wouldn't expect to see it, but when they do, they'd probably be really surprised.
And also an inverter for 220 volts.
And I have one, actually. I sank it last time, so now I have it. 3 kilowatts, 220 volts. We've got it on board.
So you could really accompany us as a support vehicle? Yes. Whoever runs out of power first can just recharge from you. Or maybe we can plan longer routes now. We're planning... Now just imagine that on the Maverick you accelerate with exactly the same impressive dynamics as before, but at the very same time you can actually have a conversation with someone. We're talking the whole trip. I just can't imagine that on the Maverick. Yeah.
Plus, we actually don't even have doors yet.
No, it's just the wind that bothers us, I totally agree. So there's absolutely no engine noise here at all. No gearboxes, no engine noise whatsoever.
Look, right now we're currently going at about 80 to 90 meters and consuming approximately 40 amps of current. Well, that's 16 kilowatts of power. So let's talk about it. So at this rate, we can actually go for a full 3 hours without stopping. In theory, in this mode, that's even 240 kilometers if you completely drain the batteries.
Cool, right?
It's not working. Manual mode, that's actually strange.
So I asked the guys, how do you remove the doors? Does it take long? How much time?
No, just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, about a couple of seconds, I agree.
It's about the same with everything else. The philosophy here is very much like that of an iconic Jeep Wrangler. When it is fully equipped with doors and everything else, you can have them as gates, as half doors, and everything is always quick and easy to change. Here, this is what I was talking about. Here are the mounting holes. They're everywhere. These are for the outriggers. You put on the arms, lower it, the motor leaves, and you replace it.
Well, it's definitely bold and really quite interesting, that's for sure, absolutely, without a doubt.